YouTube, what is going on, man? And welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about the Boston Celtics and where they go from here. So don't disappoint me like the Celtics did. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more content. But look, let's talk about where they are right now. They're currently down 0-3 to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. And this is so fucking disappointing, man. Like, these guys, they fucked around too much in the early rounds of the playoffs, dragged out the Hawks series to 6 games, dragged out the 76ers series to 7 games. And this was their best chance at getting a title. They were fucking spoon-fed a path to the NBA Finals once the Heat eliminated the Bucks. And now they're down 0-3, man. Like, it's so disappointing as a Celtics fan. Like, I don't even think that Kyrie 2019 season, which was a fucking mess, was even as bad as it is right now. Obviously, shout out to the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, you know, all their role players, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. These guys are fucking killing it. And they're outplaying the two best players on the Celtics. But let's talk about, you know, technically the series isn't over yet right now, right? They're down 0-3. Look, I don't give a fuck. They're going to get swept. I don't even think the Celtics are going to win game 4 if I'm being realistic with you. I know this team too well. They're going to fucking get swept. And so I'm going to talk about what's next for the Boston Celtics. Where do they go from here in the offseason? And how do they kind of get back to becoming a championship level team, right? First things first, the Celtics need to fire Joe Mazzulla, man. Like, I think he's been put in a very shit situation by Brad Stevens. Obviously, Ime Udoka, horny motherfucker, he got suspended and then obviously left the organization. And then Mazzulla stepped up as the interim head coach, soon to be regular head coach, or head coach, I should say. And he wasn't left with a very deep coaching staff. Will Hardy, which was the #1 Celtics assistant, he left before all the Ime drama. Damon Stoudemire's gone next season. It's just been a mess overall. Obviously, he inherited a championship type or championship level team, and he's disappointed. Look, putting a fact aside that Stevens didn't build a competent coaching staff to support Mazzulla, this guy, man, like, fuck, where do I start? He doesn't call timeouts even when the opposition is going on a 20-0 run. I don't know what the fuck he's saving his timeouts for. He makes 0 adjustments from game to game. Let's look at today. Games 1 and 2. Robert Williams played amazing. Al Horford played like trash. So what does he do? He sits Robert Williams, puts him on the bench, and starts Derek White. Like, come on, man. This is common sense, bro. Makes no adjustments. He has no personality. He doesn't have any dog in him. I don't think he's a players type coach. I don't think he's a natural born leader that the players all respect the way that they respected, you know, Ime Udoka. Like, the list goes on, man. He can't get the team on the same page. Just get this guy out of here, bro. Like, I think he's a good guy, but he's not ready for a head coaching gig, period. And look, this team has lost its defensive identity, which it built itself and prided itself on last season. They were one of the stingiest defenses in the league. This season, defensive rating, they're #2 in the league. But when it matters most in the playoffs, how the fuck do you let Lowry, Robinson, Martin, Strus, and Vincent, who are good role players, don't get me wrong, but how the fuck do you let them torch you every single game from 3 when you've got elite perimeter defenders, at least on paper? You've got Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. How the fuck do you let that happen, man? Like, I think there needs to be a major overhaul in the coaching staff for the Celtics, and I think that all starts with a competent head coach. You know, I've got my eyes on guys like Nick Nurse. Obviously, everyone's frothing over the idea of Nick Nurse. Everyone wants him, right? And then obviously, I think Frank Vogel would be good. Kenny Atkinson. Fuck, even Mike Budenholzer, bro. Look, #1, they have to fire Joe Mazzulla. Period. Next, they need to bring in some dogs, man. Like, I look at the way this Celtics team is right now. It's no surprise that they're soft as fuck, and they have been for multiple seasons now. Like, this Celtics core of, you know, Tatum, Brown, Smart, and Horford, if you want to include them, they used to be like the comeback kids, man. Like, back in 2017 and 2018, they were constantly down by 15, 20 points in the regular season. They would storm their way back, played with a lot of heart. Like, obviously, they had 0 expectations, and now, you know, the championship favorites, blah, 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 and they fuck around, and they get, like, in the regular season, there were signs of it. They got fucking outplayed by, like, you know, Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, fucking Killian Hayes looked like an actual competent NBA player against them. They just don't have that dog. I think Marcus Smart has that dog in him, but, like, I don't think he's talented enough offensively to gain respect from the league for being, like, a dog, right? Like, defensively, obviously, he hustles, he's a great defender, but I think also the fact that he flops a lot loses a bit of respect for being, like, that tough guy, right? And then I look at Grant Williams. Look, people give him shit for saying things like, I'll make them both, and deservedly so, like referring to the free throws. And then the other day when, obviously, he was poking the bear with Jimmy Butler and, you know, staunching the cunt when you shouldn't have staunched Jimmy Butler, bro. But I got to give him respect. He was the only guy that actually showed some heart and grit out there for the Celtics. So I like Grant Williams. And Robert Williams, I think I can tell that he actually gives a shit about winning. And then you got other guys like, Brown and Tatum. They're very nonchalant about everything. So I think what they need is some guys to fucking scream at you like PJ Tucker, Udonis Haslem. Ime Udoka was that guy, but he couldn't keep it in his pants. You need those type of enforcer type players to give him a smack in the head when they're just playing like a bunch of pussies. Next, they need to add some experience. When I say experience, I mean in the assistant coaching lines. I'm thinking guys like, Monty Williams. He's probably a good assistant coach. Steven Silas, I know he was trash as the Rockets head coach, but he's probably a pretty decent assistant coach as well. You got Dave Yeager, James Borrego, Becky Hammond, people like that. You need vocal leaders they've learned from the best in the league. They have that experience to kind of lead Joe Mazzulla if he doesn't get fired, or if Mazzulla somehow is the head coach, you still need like that presence next to him. And I think you need some veteran players as well. Obviously, Al Horford's a vet, but he's not really an outspoken one. And that kind of links in with bringing in some dogs. They just need some more vocal leaders in that locker room, man. Like Blake Griffin, I think is good for vibes, but I don't think he's really that guy that is like, yeah, fuck you. You need to stop playing like a little bitch. So bring in some leadership, whether it's through assistant coaches or some vets. Next, they need to add a playmaker, a true point guard. Like, when you look at the Celtics this series, there's been too many ISOs from the Jays, Tatum and Brown specifically, and more often than not, they're either driving it in and turning it over, or they kick it out and one of the teammates clanks a three. It's just not sustainable offense. Like, they literally live by the three and die by the three, right? I think they need to actually add a floor general who can set up the table, especially in crunch time situations. That's why they've struggled so much. They need someone who has that leadership, has that veteran voice, and can kind of point guys where to go, call plays, because Mazzulla's not going to call any plays. They need someone to do that. I think Smart is a very underrated playmaker. The Celtics actually have a very, very good record when he records over 8 assists. I think they're 15-6, and they were actually previously undefeated when Smart recorded 10 plus assists. They were 8-0 until game 2. And so I think he's an underrated playmaker, but he's probably not a number one playmaker on a championship level team. And lastly, and perhaps the most important, they need to make a decision on Jaylen Brown. Obviously, JB is fresh off an All-NBA second team appearance, and now he's eligible for a Supermax contract worth $295 million. And the Celtics have to think about, is he worth that type of money based off of what you've seen so far in the playoffs? Let's look at his stats. He's averaging 16.7 points per game in this Miami Heat series, 6.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, on 37.7% from the field, 10% from 3, and 50% from the free throw line, and 3.7 turnovers per game. Now, you add his field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. That fucking doesn't even add up to 100%, bro. How do you let that happen, man? Like, when you look at him play against the Heat, this was an issue all season long. He's got pretty bad basketball IQ, he's got tunnel vision, doesn't know how to create for others, and when he drives the ball, bro, he either fucking drives into 3 defenders and turns it over, dribbles it off his foot and turns it over, or he fucking slips, bro. Like, I don't know how that's happening. And, bro, look, it's just so fucking frustrating. Like, I don't know what's gotten into him mentally this series. Like, I don't know if it's the fact that he's got that Supermax extension on his mind, or if it's because he's playing, his good mate Jimmy Butler. Whatever the fuck else is going on, I don't care. But he's laying a fucking egg right now. And so the Celtics have to decide, do we keep JB? Do we put him away in a sign and trade for someone who can complement the team better? Obviously, a name that I've thought of initially is Damian Lillard. We don't know what the Trailblazers are going to do. Dame's kind of hinted that maybe he kind of wants out. He's not directly implying it, but you can kind of tell from his tone. He's been sick of that front office as well for a few years. They haven't done anything to get him any help. And I think a sign and trade for both teams would make sense as long as the Blazers, they're like, fuck it. We're just going to rebuild properly and do it the right way. Because Jaylen Brown, you can do a lot. When it comes to rebuilding your team, you can do a lot worse. And he's still young enough to be like a franchise cornerstone for a few years until you get, more help along the way, right? Obviously, Dame is like a dream acquisition, but I don't know what's going to happen. And then the alternative is obviously you pay Jaylen Brown, you keep him, you kind of run it back with most of this core. But like I said, you got to add in some dogs. You got to get some veteran leadership, some veteran voices in there. And you probably have to bring in another 3-and-D type wing, like a big wing, and a backup big, because Al Horford looks fucking washed this series. I think he's still good for certain matchups, like Embiid, for example, but he looks fucking terrible right now. But look, that's my little rant over. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Obviously, hey, look, I might be a bit delusional, might be fucking pissed right now because I haven't been so disappointed in the Celtics team in a very, very long time, maybe ever. So drop your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe, man. Don't disappoint me like the Celtics. But stay tuned for more content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.